So the important thing to note here is that I emphasize development a lot more than I say a design. There are design firms, there are manufacturing firms. Development encompasses the entire spectrum of taking things from concept on the whiteboard and all of the iterations that you go through in order to make a product become reality. And so in this space, we can do a lot of building of prototypes and testing of ideas.
So what happens in here?
So in this particular space, we develop catheter prototypes. This particular area is catheter technology. Over here, we do a variety of other types of technology. In fact, we have something that I can show you. We have permission from our clients, so I'll show you something that we have set up over there in the other side of the lab.
What do we call this space?
So yeah, Jeff, any like special capabilities here? I know you mentioned catheters, but like what sort of equipment have you had to bring in-house for these specialty projects?
Excellent question. So what's important is to be able to develop things in-house. So if we have to go outside to someone that has a specialty function in their shop, it may cost me 2 weeks, and waiting 2 weeks to get something done drives me crazy. And it drives my clients crazy because 2 weeks is very expensive. And so whatever we can do to facilitate a quick turn on testing and proving out ideas, we do here things. So all over the shelves here, you'll find all sorts of seemingly bizarre stuff. Because we've accumulated stuff over years and years of doing projects, the important thing there is that when an engineer or a client or a technician has an idea, we want them to be able to go into the lab and try it right now. Because if you let it go too long, they may lose it. So what's really critical is to take an idea, go into the lab and test it as quickly as possible to learn the next iteration.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, speaking of timeline, right? It's you learn immediately, you take those results, and you iterate the next one. And there's not the delay of someone else doing it, or there's not the practicalities of when you're trying it on the machine, you see something that you wouldn't have seen if you outsourced it to somebody else. To have those capabilities here are huge. And I mean, I already feel pressure from our investors to meet the timeline. So when you say, hey, we care more about the timeline than anything else, I breathe a sigh of relief. Yeah.
So let me show you how the master craftsmen here, the master technicians, might go about building a catheter, and they have so much experience. These technicians are masters of their craft. They've been building catheters of all sorts for 30 years. And so when the engineers have an idea we want to implement, they're the ones that help us understand the reality of what we can and can't do, and they're the ones that build stuff. And so let me show you in closer detail. So here Tony is building a balloon catheter, and so every catheter is made specific to a procedure, which then gets clearance through the FDA to perform that procedure.
So obviously, this is R&D kind of space right here.
Right.
This is not going in human. This is not going probably in animal. Could you build this same catheter once you refined it here and actually build this catheter here to go into human?
Excellent question. So the process would be that here we would prove ideas. And so yes, to answer your question, this would be to iterate ideas.
Sure.
When we have the ideas that we ultimately want to use, we would then take them into our manufacturing space to build the final product that will get used.
And you could actually do that in-house. You could take, I mean, obviously you described what it takes to get to the clinical version, but you can actually manufacture the clinical version in-house here?
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's why I'm glad you asked that question, because the important thing about what you're going to see through all this is that we take everything from concept through final product, sterile, able to go into patients, cleared through the FDA. And we have it all under this roof.